people who are educated in a poor public school system. And gentlemen, this is a response to yet another cut and paste video where this user, loser mccainisthroughx, cuts and pastes some stuff off the internet again and plunks it down as her own original material when it's obviously not. She doesn't put stuff in her own words very often. She just cuts and pastes something off the internet, which is not surprising. This is a response to California reverses ban on homosexual marriage. And there's several pushbacks that can be looked at in this. That McStupid neglected. As far as Proposition 8 passing in California, McStupid, do you know that according to exit polls and polling data, 70% of blacks supported Proposition 8? They must be racist. Those bigoted blacks. McStupid is fond of playing the race card. What will she do when she finds out that 70% of blacks in California supported Proposition 8 and 53% of Hispanics did? In fact, whites were one demographic that was basically split. So I guess the whites were the less bigoted of the groups, right, McStupid? And again, I'll have all the links underneath the video there. Maybe it's because a lot of these blacks who grew up in the 60s realized that there were no homosexual and straight drinking fountains back then. So calling this a civil rights crusade is kind of spitting in the face of Martin Luther King's legacy, wouldn't you think? But anyway, McStupid, those blacks and Hispanics out in California are bigoted because a super majority of blacks and a slight majority of Hispanics supported that Proposition 8. So I eagerly await your video calling the blacks bigoted, since you like to play the race card so often. Here's another pushback for it. How come, another thing McStupid does, and I've called out some of her friends on this. See the video on your screen right now. McStupid likes to use ad populum appeals. Most of the time they're not even true. Like with global warming, which is not a topic in this video, but I'm using this as an example. She will cite that the majority of scientists believe in anthropogenic global warming. But every time homosexual marriage is on the ballot in a state, it gets defeated. So I guess there's a... Can I use that ad populum appeal, McStupid? The American public doesn't want it. Oh, you'll probably throw that out. So McStupid uses ad populum appeals when it's convenient for her, when it's politically expedient. Here's another pushback, McStupid. How come when they put homosexual marriage on the ballot in a state, how come they're not putting incestuous marriages and polygamy on the ballot? Why are you leaving the Mormons and Muslims out of it? Why is it not on the ballot for one guy to marry, say, 3 hot women? I've had a number of nice-looking women tell me I'm good-looking, so why can I marry 4 women at the same time? I'd like to be able to marry 4 hot women. Maybe 4 guys could marry 10 women. They can have a big old marriage collective. What if some guy wants to marry his daughter and his daughter consents to it? Why? Trust me, there will be some kooks that do that. So why can't some guy marry his daughter or some mother marry her daughter? That's never on the ballot. So I guess it's conveniently left out. I don't know. Are you a bigot for not putting that on the ballot? I've asked a number of neo-Marxists about that, and I never get a real good answer. Why no incestuous marriages, and why no polygamy? Why are you throwing the Mormons and Muslims under the bus? Here's another pushback McStupid won't be able to deal with. Let's assume for a minute, everyone assume that the myth called biological evolution is true. Now, for evolution is all about the survival of a species, natural selection, survival of the fittest, etc. Heterosexuality is required for the human race to continue, or any race. Granted, there are some species that are asexual reproduction, but heterosexuality is needed for evolution. Male-female procreation is required for evolution to continue. If by, let's say, do you know what the founder's effect is, McStupid? If you don't, you can just go ahead and Google it. Let's say via the founder's effect, a primitive species of Homo sapien, via the founder's effect, became a homosexual society exclusively. What would happen to that segment of Homo sapien via the founder's effect if they were an exclusively homosexual society? Well, it would die out. and all the genetic info with it, whether recessive or dominant, whether natural selection would filter it out or keep it, would be lost. Therefore, for evolution, heterosexuality is required, homosexuality is unneeded. So even going by your own ridiculous theory, it wouldn't work if exclusively practiced. Those are several pushbacks. Let's another item I'd like to go over. When Proposition 8 was being debated out there, it was hotly contested out in California, the California's Teachers Association donated $1.25 million to defeat it. Now, that's their prerogative. They can do that, but I'm sure there's a lot of teachers whose union dues went to that, to fund that, and they didn't want it. Because their mission is to educate children in California, not to, well, some people would disagree, not to indoctrinate them, which is why I favor the end of the public school system. If you want to send your child to a school that teaches homosexuality and ridiculous theories like evolution and anthropogenic global warming, you can do that. I'm not going to bar you from doing that. But if you don't want to send your kid to a public school that teaches that crap, or a school that teaches that crap, you shouldn't have to. If you want to send your kid to a Catholic private school, or any sort of Catholic school, a charter school, you should be able to do that. Now, there'd be a hot debate over this, but basically I'd say school choice would be the best way to go, because then parents can choose what kind of school they want to send their children to. And most neo-Marxists don't want that. There are some Republicans that do want a national curriculum, and my message is to them, great, you can ram down your curriculum down everyone's throat, but when you leave power, the other side's going to do it. So I would caution against that. Empower parents, that's the best way to go. But anyways, the California Teachers Association donated $1.25 million to defeat Proposition 8, which might be a questionable use of their funds, which I'm sure a lot of it came from teachers who don't support that nonsense. But they did it anyway. Now, did they have other priorities? Of course. Only 56% of blacks graduated from high school in California in 2008. Even that's below the national average. And trust me, the national average is pretty low. Only 11% of black California 8th graders are proficient or advanced readers. And judging from some of the things you've said, McStupid, and some of the grammatical train wrecks I've seen you pen, I would say you're definitely not proficient yourself. Of course, the Chicago public school system isn't exactly very good either. But I'd say the California Teachers Association wasted a whole bunch of money there, because they're obviously not doing their job, because blacks are suffering. California's dropout rate is above the national average as well. Blacks and Hispanics both do poorly in California. And of course, again, they're the bigots that supported Proposition 8. And you need to point that out, McStupid. So maybe the California Teachers Association needs to be disbanded, and the public school system there crushed like a grape. Or they need to maybe actually spend money on the kids, because it's obviously not working. I realize parents do play a role in this, and there's a lot of stupid parents, trust me, that probably shouldn't be procreating. Another thing, a school field trip in San Francisco went to City Hall to witness a homosexual marriage. That goes back to my thing about school choice. If you don't want your school going and observing that nonsense, you shouldn't have to. But here's a public school that took kids on a field trip to witness a homosexual marriage at City Hall in San Francisco. Not a good use of taxpayer funds, but I suppose that's okay, because it's their agenda. Again, leave it up to the parents, and you can choose what school to send your kids to and what values you want them taught, want them infiltrated with. So again, there, McStupid leaves out a whole bunch of stuff, and she really doesn't know what she's talking about. Again, as I said, all the links will be underneath the video, as I reference all my material and actually get into some details. McStupid, all she does is cut and paste a rant off the internet and call it good. Good luck refuting this, McStupid. Those who are interested, I've also refuted McStupid many other times. Check the playlists on the right side of my channel. I refuted her many times, and she is afraid to debate me. Good luck, McStupid. You will need it.